Good morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever the hell it happens to be for you. Here we go. I am finally podcasting, and I don't even have a name for it, to be honest. I mean, I've always wanted to do this. I was inspired by growing up since the age of 4. I listened to the Opie and Anthony show, and ever since then I really wanted to broadcast in some way, in some capacity, have my voice heard, and just, sort of bullshit on various topics, talk about current events, give advice, that whole sort of thing. One of my main points, though, is that I really, really want to avoid politics on this channel, under this name, because right now, in early 2020, the world is really tearing itself apart with side A and side B totally going at it and just trying to rip each other to absolute shreds. And I have separate channels for that sort of thing. I mean, I know it leaks onto my private pages to a degree. Well, I say to a degree, really a lot, but I try to calm it down. And I want this to be more of a fun vibe. I want this to be more of a laid-back sort of thing where people can come here, come to the comments section, go to my Twitter, and submit various topics and questions and sort of things, and we can just all have a really chill time together. I think we should all be able to just chat without big arguments or, big things like that. So, I really just want to be able to sort of vibe together and leave all of our, leave all of our opinions there at the door. Anyway, so what is going on today? I am currently all dressed up with nowhere to go. And that is because I got stood up tonight on a date. As some of you know, I have been talking to a girl. I talked about it in the As Always chat, in the Four Pillars Discord, and things have been going pretty well for the most part. But tonight it seems like she tried to play a couple games with me, and I was having none of it at all. We were supposed to go out on a second date, and she decided before then she wanted to go out to a couple of drinks with her friend from work. So she texted me. I was supposed to go pick her up around 5:30 and get to her house around 6, just for background information. She decides last minute that she's going to go out for drinks with her friend, and, I'll let you know when you can come and get me. And listen, I'm 23. I don't play those cat and mouse games anymore. So when she texted me a half an hour later than I was supposed to pick her up, I told her, hey, it's too late. We're going to have to reschedule because I planned on already being to the place we wanted to go to by now. I really, at this point, am not up for playing the games that I used to play when I was a teenager, when I was the stereotypical simp and was really, really desperate. I don't like playing that game anymore. I will, if anything, play the reverse of that game because it is honestly just a load of fucking bullshit. And the reason that I learned, or really relearned, that is such a bullshit way to live and operate in a relationship is because, speaking of Opie and Anthony, I've been revisiting the late and great comedian Patrice ONeal and a lot of his relationship advice that he gave. Which, if I could sum it up in a phrase or a sentence, it would be, fuck that bitch. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's really the prerequisite to a lot of the points that people make nowadays when it comes to not bending over backwards for a woman who wants your attention, I know that the more and more I go on about this, I'm going to sound like the biggest incel, but trust me, I'm going to put it in context. So, throughout my life, I've gone through a lot of horrible, horrible relationships, just to put it lightly. I've experienced a lot of the good and the bad, and I feel like I've learned a lot from it. And I would have operated much better in those situations had I remembered the things that I had heard since the age of 4, when Patrice ONeal would go on O&A as a frequent guest, and he would give a lot of advice to callers and people, which essentially was that women, and to some of you this is going to sound very basic, but back in the early 2000s when I heard it, or when my father was playing it, it was relatively new information, that women chase just as much as men do, except women are really turned off to men who chase too hard. Or really, that being said, men who make it obvious that they are chasing in the first place. So something I learned, or relearned again, that if a girl is trying to play hard to get with you, you do not, even if you honestly feel like you want her in either a sexual way or a relationship way, you do not show that at all. And I know that sounds very dishonest, but really it's not like that. It's more of a, how do I word this? Of course, I'm doing this impromptu and I can't put it into words. I didn't rehearse this. I'm sort of just riffing right now. Women don't like men who are desperate. And even if you are desperate, you shouldn't show that you are. That's not to say that you should be dishonest in, if you're desperate, you're desperate. But if you are desperate, you should really look in on yourself and tell yourself, what the fuck am I doing that for? I'm way better than this. I'm going to make her chase me. And instead of this sort of fake it until you make it attitude that I hear a lot of people pressure impressionable young people into that have no idea what they're doing, or they're really relatively new to the relationship world, it's not a situation of fake it until you make it. It's really a matter of you have to actually feel it for real. And if you don't feel it for real, then you need to take a pause from going after a woman at all, so much as even chatting with her, and really look at yourself and make sure that you are ready for that sort of thing. Because, hey, I know that a lot of people hearing this are probably much younger than me. But it's really important that you learn these lessons early on. And I'm not trying to form you into some sort of sexist thinking that women can be mentally played with and men play this game, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I go for. What I'm trying to say is that if you need to hold a certain slot or a place in a relationship, which is not to say that men hold slot A and women hold slot B, because I know it's 2020 and that sort of thing isn't accepted. And I agree with it not being accepted, because it really is a matter of who wants to be where in the relationship. But if you want to be in the position where you control your own sort of destiny, you need to assert your place. And I'm not saying tell the woman, oh, you're here and I'm here. I'm saying make it known where you want to be. To make it known that, hey, I feel A, B, and C, and I'm not going to compromise on A, B, and C. So before we get started, I want you to be comfortable with being C, D, E, blah, 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 whatever it happens to be. You need to let it be known very early on where you stand on certain things and be like, hey, if you stand in a way that contributes to this or matches with it in a sort of a puzzle piece way, we're going to get along very well. And if not, then this is over before it starts. And again, I keep reiterating how bleak of an outlook that can be, but it's really realistic. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a lot of the modern relationship advice and people giving that advice don't have experience in that sort of field to give that point of view. And like I said, I have been in a lot of awkward positions. I've been, officially dating since, 2013. And that's only counting the official relationships. I've been in many awkward positions, many twisted, awful things where I've been the bad guy and they've been the bad girl, and not in the sexy way. I mean an actual bad girl to be with. So I feel like I've earned the chance to warn you all that you need to let your positions and roles, whether or not they conform to old school gender, or whether there's some new modern sort of thing, you need to let it be known early on, because you need to vibe as soon as you start off. You can't start out a certain way and then try to evolve it into another thing, because you are not guaranteed that that is going to work at all. And if you're already putting yourself in that position and you're lined up for a relationship and with the intentions that you want to change her or change who is what or what stands for who, you don't know if later down the road you'll be able to change that, and thus you could be wasting your young life trying to change people who absolutely cannot be changed. But really, when it comes down to it, oh well, whatever. What am I going to do about it? Coming back to my original point of being stood up, I don't let it faze me, because I know that I have Tinder, I have dating sites, I have, once COVID is over, many places to meet any girl I want, of any type. Which brings me to a rule that I remember from my childhood that my father told me, which I believe he got from Patrice ONeal, because he was long before I was, when I was age 4, he was an Opie and Anthony fan. He was actually one of their mods in their online community back in the day. So he passed a lot of those things on to me, which, fair enough, is probably why I am the way I am. But there is the rule that he, to this day, tells me if I ever come to him. I don't really anymore, being 23, but that rule was this. At all times, you should be able to walk away within 10 seconds. And that is a rule, not a guideline, because no matter how long you are into a relationship, if it is a week, if it is 5 years, once you let it be known that you need her more than she needs you, she owns you. She owns everything you do, every thought you have. But if you are able to walk away within 10 seconds of the drop of a hat, something happens and in 10 seconds you could leave and live your life, you will never, ever be vulnerable. And they can tell when you are vulnerable. And if you're not vulnerable, they cling to your shoulder no matter what circumstance you are in. Which is why when this girl texted me, "Oh, you can come pick me up now, I'm ready," and it was a half hour past the time, I went, "Nah, that's too late now. I have to get up in the morning. We'll have to reschedule some other time. LOL, haha, bye." Pretty much. And she responded to me with, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My friend wanted to go out, blah, blah, blah. We thought we would be right there and back. Please don't hate me." And that sounds really sad. But compare it to what the alternative was. If I said, okay, I'll come right there. I'll be right there in a few minutes. I'll leave right now. She would know that I am the type of guy who has no spine and doesn't stand up for himself, and whatever this cutie does to me, I'll take, and I won't give back to her. If she gives me shit, I'll take it. And the message you have to send is, hey, you can give me shit. If you want to give me shit, that's up to you. But, oh, will I give you shit that makes you wish you didn't give me shit. But anyway, holy shit, does that make me sound like an incel. I hope that with future episodes, I will be able to show you guys that I claim to be a reformed incel. That meaning, in high school, I was the stereotype. I was awful, couldn't make eye contact, nerdy, just weird looking, weird acting. But it took me the years, not even out of high school, but out of college and into my adult life to learn the things that I should have known when I was younger. And that really came through revisiting all those old bits that I've been talking about. But, yeah, I hope to be revisiting those subjects in future episodes. If anybody asks me questions about them or wants advice, I gave a really borderline sexist-sounding basic overview. But hopefully, when you hear the rest, you'll realize, oh, he's not a sexist. He's just a really harsh realist. But, anyway, that's enough for that topic until somebody wants to elaborate. Anybody who submits anything. I want to go to the topics section. Now, way back in the day, I sent out a text asking for anybody to bring up topics for a little riff video that I wanted to do. And I kind of ignored it, I'll be honest. Because I'm a lazy fuck who has a broken computer that can't edit anything yet. But once I do, be prepared for me to fucking take over. I mean, right now I'm recording on my phone, but that's just a temporary thing. So anyways, I want to revisit some of the topics that were brought up to me in that tweet. And you can always tweet me at DIDDLOTIC or at my personal James Piccolino, and I'll spell those out and give those to you at the end. But I want to go to the first topic, which is from my boy, one of my first supporters and people who supported me from the get-go, Ben Parker, the boy, the punkster, who asks me my opinion on Game of Thrones Season 8. Now, I know this seems a bit outdated, but I'm only revisiting it now. I will admit that in the beginning of Game of Thrones Season 8, the first few episodes, even the ones that people were being very critical of, I was clinging on to hope, and I don't think I realized it. The first few episodes, I was crazy about. If you go back and see some of the live tweets, if I didn't delete them out of pure fucking embarrassment, almost every episode, right into the last couple, I would tweet, oh my god, that just upped the last one. Like, oh my god, this show was so epic. Please like and retweet. I don't think I really was being as critical as I should have been. Looking back, I understand people's criticism of why the show dipped so badly. But I think I wasn't, not that I wasn't willing to accept that it was bad, but I think I'm a very knee-jerk reaction sort of person when it comes to media, which I'm trying to work on, especially for the fact that I want to actually, on this channel, review media. But I think I was blinded by the moment the show ended. I would live tweet, for example, on how, like, whoa, dude, that ending was. When really I hadn't let it sink in, and I think it takes, if not weeks, then months for it to set in really what it means to the grand scheme of a story. You need to let all emotion burn off and really question where it adds to the main sort of storyline or direction. And at that point I didn't, and I regret it now, because even to this day I'm very reactionary, and if you follow me on any social media, a lot of things, but I would say, Ben, that my opinion on Game of Thrones Season 8, at first I was fine with it. It was like, oh, it's not that good, it's not that bad. But nowadays I am much more critical, and that serves to prove that don't live tweet things in the moment just because you think it'll get you followers or anything, because it takes a long time to form an opinion and really settle on where something is in the grand scheme of canon to a show or a movie. I mean, Jesus, fuck, anything from Game of Thrones, like we're talking about, to Doctor Who, that has like 60 fucking years, that I used to be a big fan of, until, the whole post-Capaldi thing, Chibnall, but we'll talk about it in another episode. There's a lot of things that can be debated, but yeah, that's my opinion on Season 8. And now the next question. Wow, it only took me until this long. I am really feeling the Jack and Coke that I made. Whoo, shit, it's kicking in. Anyways, the next question also comes from Benny the Boy Punks, and that is my opinion on Star Wars Episode 9. Look, I have seen all of these modern ones in theaters, and I've had more or less the same opinion as most people have had. And I think, to put it simply, that Episode 9 was not as good as it could have been, but also at the same time as good as we possibly could have hoped it could be. Because you have to imagine, there's what I call the bowtie of trilogy, where you have the first, second, and third episode of something. The first episode can be good, the second episode, and then the third episode, but the second episode is the most important, because that is what links the first and the third together. If the second episode fails, then the first and the third don't connect in the way they're supposed to, and the whole trilogy is utterly fucked up. So I think Episode 9, to put it short, it had a lot of flaws. It had a lot of, places where it fell short for something that was supposed to end the Skywalker saga. But when you look at the fact that it had to pick up from Episode 8, and thus from Episode 7, J.J. tried to scramble whatever he could together, and to be honest, I can't fault him for that. So I think Episode 9 really was as good as it could have been. So that's my thoughts on that. Now the next topic comes from my boy Matt, who asks me my opinions on Rocket Man and why it is so incredible. Now I know that sounds like kind of a meme, because he's, sort of known for being a Rocket Man obsessed boy, But actually, when Rocket Man came out, I went to see it. And that is because, funny story, I had seen the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic. And when I saw the previews in that for Rocket Man, starring Taron Egerton, which I only saw up to this point of recording the first episode of Kingsman, the first movie Kingsman. I saw that he was supposed to be Elton John. I thought it would be the same sort of vibe. And when me, my best friend CJ, and my cousin, and also best friend Andrew, went in, I expected Rocket Man to be the sort of thing that the Queen biopic was of Bohemian Rhapsody. And I remember sitting there. I was sadly not in the top row that I normally pick, but in the front area because we were late, which is ugh. But Taron started very early on with his rendition of "The Bitch Is Back" by Elton John, obviously, and I went, "Oh no, this is a musical," which is very funny because I love musicals. I was in theater. So, you would think I would love musicals, but when I walked into that movie, I expected a Bohemian Rhapsody, but about Elton John. And I was very surprised in the fact that I am a very big Elton John fan. I have actually, through one of my discography tours that I planned on putting up as a video, but I never did, I went through every single album Elton John has ever put out. And I love that fucking dude. I love his music. I mean, I don't know him personally. Obviously, I'm some chuckle fuck from Rhode Island who has 49 subscribers, so I'm not going to be famous enough to know him, but I really love the work that he puts in and his inspirations behind putting that sort of thing behind him. And that actually brings me to, I'm going to do it in this podcast, the Rocket Man soundtrack. Thanks to Matt, I am going to break down my favorite and least favorite tracks from that album. So, here we go. So, track number 1, "The Bitch Is Back," I've already kind of hinted to. Track 2, "I Want Love," which is actually one of the few songs that I prefer the original of compared to this version, even though this version has Bryce Dallas Howard, which is, whew, to me is just, whew. But anyway, track 3, "Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting." I love the original and this version of the song. It just gets me pumped up. 4, "Thank You for All Your Loving," it's kind of whatever. 5, "Border Song," I love this version. 6, "Rock and Roll Madonna," the interlude, I love both versions. 7, of course, track 7, "Your Song" by Elton John is incredible, and Taron's version is incredible as well. Track 8 is "Amarina," which I love this version much more than the original. Track 9, "Crocodile Rock," which I love the sequence it's in, but the song never really catches me. Track 10, "Tiny Dancer." Who in their right mind doesn't love that song? And Taron's version of it is also good, along with track 11, "Take Me to the Pilot." I think his version is also superior. Track 12, "Hercules," whatever, didn't catch me. 13, "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," also kind of whatever. Honky Cat, track 14, I loved this version so much more than the original. Pinball Wizard, whatever, didn't catch me. Rocket Man, of course, the title track. I mean, who wouldn't love that? You have to be a crazy person to not love that. Benny and the Jets, the interlude, I actually like the original better than this version. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, I really love this version, but I wish it were longer. Sorry seems to be the hardest word, track 19. I really, really like Taryn's version, but the track that you can download on Amazon Music, which is what I use, has the stupid little fucking rant at the end about, like, the dessert that he's ordering with his mom, and it kind of ruins it for me. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which has him and Jamie Bell, which I didn't realize till recently because I've been obsessed with Turn. He plays the main character in Turn, Jamie Bell, and it's funny looking back now because when I first saw Rocket Man, I had never seen that show. So, God, I love that. I love seeing that so much. It's very funny to me. And there's I'm Still Standing. I love both versions of that. Taryn's as well as Elton's original. And, of course, the last song, track 22, I'm Gonna Love Me Again, which is such a bop. I blast that all the time in my car whenever it comes up. I can't bring myself to skip it. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is my outlook, my very quick outlook on the Rocket Man soundtrack. Now, I believe that is all I have for today. So, next time on episode 2 of whatever the hell I happen to call this, I've kind of gone over earlier what I want the subject matter to be of this, but as far as whatever you guys want to leave as suggestions for topics or comments or questions, you can always mention me at DIDDLOTIC, which is at all caps DIDDLOTIC. Don't ask, it's a randomly made up word of mine. I would rather you submit them to that. But if you only follow me on my personal account, which is my name, James Piccolino, which is the last name is spelled Piccolino, you can also send them there. You can either mention me in something or DM me. Either one is the same. So yeah, I don't have a sign off because this is very rough draft, and I'm gonna upload this knowing that someday, if I'm lucky, someday I'll look back at this upload and go, oh my god, this is pure cringe, and I can't believe that I used to upload in such shoddy bullshit workmanship, but right now it's the best I have. So, anyways, it is 11:20 at night. I have to get up at, like, 5. I am hungry as fuck because I planned on going to dinner with that girl, but, you know, kinda got stood up, so I'm gonna go microwave some of my pizza left over, go to sleep, wake up, and then hopefully tomorrow night upload this, which pretty much means the night that you're hearing this will most likely be the night that it is uploaded. Anyways, I don't have an outro, so I hope that you enjoyed this episode of whatever the hell I happen to call this, really. DIDDLOTIC's Drunken Babble would be a good enough name, unless I decide on something else in between ending this recording and the time I upload it. So, if you check the description, you'll see a bunch of my social media links. You can follow me and all that sort of good stuff. Also, I'm only at, as of recording this, 49 subscribers, and I am trying my goddamnedest to hit 100. So, if you can subscribe, that would be incredible. I would absolutely love you long time for that. And if you could hit the bell, that would even be cooler, because then you wouldn't miss out on a damn thing I do. Anyways, that concludes episode 1 of whatever I happen to call this podcast series. Thank you for listening this far in, and I will see you later. Thanks for listening to my drunken babble. Bye-bye.